Before we start, I need to let you guys know that I cry watching movies, like, a lot. I choke up in the usual places, like at the end of Toy Story 3, and my eyes have been known to spring small leaks in less acclaimed scenes, like when Chirrut died in Rogue One. And, of course, I wept when the funny kitty worked through his mortality crisis. It's just not that unusual for me to let out a healthy handful of manly tears. But The Last of Us, it found something inside me I didn't know I had. It awoke the crying tiger, and I sobbed more than I think I ever have watching entertainment. I was unstoppable. The love story was so good, I wanted to watch it again. So I did. But then I got thinking about how it differed from the games when so far they'd been mostly faithful. And why'd it do that? Well, I'll tell you, but you should know we are entering Spoiler City. No QZ here. You've been warned. Though, if you clicked on the thumbnail, you're probably also hungry for more Bill and Frank content. So, going into The Last of Us game, a show watcher such as myself may expect another beautiful romance, and well, it's not that. What the game presents is more textured. Where the show gives us a satisfying love story with a tragic ending, the game gives us a very open-ended vignette. So, writing this essay, I wasn't sure how much to recap, since some people may have only seen the show, and some only the games, and some people might just need a reminder. I'm just gonna speedrun it. So in the show, Bill, 9/11 truther, doomsday prepper, and foodie, lives out his libertarian, self-reliant fantasy until a helpless metropolitan Frank stumbles into his life. They fall in love, and Bill finds a new purpose, loving and taking care of his partner. They spend 16 years together working through their differences, making compromises, and getting older. Until Frank gets Parkinson's disease, and he decides to kill himself before it gets too bad, and in a bittersweet twist, Bill chooses to join him in death rather than live on without the love of his life. In the games, Bill is a mechanic surviving by himself who agrees to help Joel and Ellie fix a car. They travel around town fighting and evading zombies, all the while Bill hints at a romantic partner who he's already split from. Until that is, they find Bill's partner Frank, already dead, having died to the zombies in an attempt to leave or abandon Bill. If I messed up either recap, please correct me in the comments. I need the engagement. So, they're different stories with different messages. I think both the game and the show are excellent storytelling, and I don't think it would be constructive to compare them in a one-to-one fashion. But looking at each, I was struck by how both were very of their mediums. And I don't think The Last of Us show could have pulled off the story as it was in the game, and I don't think The Last of Us game would really be able to tell the same kind of story that the show tells. These differences show us the pitfalls of adapting a game into a show or movie, and how the show does it right. We'll start with the show. The showrunner said they wanted to be willing to make changes where they can. But what I don't think they're letting on to is that if they had taken the game's story strictly as it was, it would have been kind of bad. I mean this in the least disparaging way I can. It's a very video gamey story. Until they find Frank, the story is told entirely through their conversation, quips, and a few notes found in-game. And I think that kind of storytelling works really well in the context of a AAA action game. The conversations can be delivered and understood while you're busy fighting, scavenging, or interacting with the environment. Uncovering a story while you as an audience member occupy yourself with a related task is a mode of storytelling unique to video games. And so if the show used the plot as it was, it wouldn't really be able to translate. Instead of the audience getting to fight and explore an environment while the story was relayed, the audience would be forced to just watch Joel, Ellie, and Bill do that stuff, which is a subtle difference, but one that video game adaptations don't always appreciate. You'll notice the more faithful episodes are the ones based more on the in-game cutscenes, which are much easier to translate to television. If you get one takeaway from this section, it should be that The Last of Us didn't just change the third episode for representation or to be distinct, even though those are both good, but because it had to tell a story that worked in its medium. Well, it didn't have to, but it would have been bad otherwise, and the show is good. A lot of video game adaptations just kind of show us the stuff that happens in the game without really appreciating that the reason that stuff's interesting to game audiences is because it's in a game. The Last of Us has demonstrated a willingness to write things that work better for TV that still plays into the core themes laid out by the original. As for The Last of Us game, I think if it wanted to tell the kind of story that Episode 3 depicted, it would face a similar problem that the show encountered, but in reverse. Bill and Frank's love story is very light on zombies. In 60 minutes of screen time, they see exactly one zombie. And that was an intentional creative choice that the games wouldn't be able to replicate. Because at the end of the day, a game needs to service its core gameplay loop. And the core gameplay loop of The Last of Us isn't to fix up boutiques and to get old with a loving partner. It's to kill zombies or people and then listen to people talk while you look around for more stuff to help you kill zombies or people. Hypothetically, the game could have been about boutiques and growing old, but then it wouldn't be The Last of Us. As a AAA action game, The Last of Us can be about a man escorting a young girl across America and learning to love again. But it can't not be about beating up baddies. If you'll indulge me in a tangent, this isn't a critique specific to The Last of Us, but more the whole action, story-heavy AAA genre. Think Red Dead Redemption, God of War, Mass Effect, etc. They're very restricted in what kind of stories they can tell, because they need to accommodate regular sections of bad guy killing. And the bad guy killing doesn't really support the story. It kind of does if you pick the right kind of story, but in the worst offenders like Mass Effect, you get shit like, "Oh my god, is that my estranged father? Yes, I think that's him. He's just passed these 3 identical shooting galleries. Come on, we don't have time to waste." Honestly, I think I would have enjoyed the Mass Effect games so much more if they were like the Telltale games, and I wasn't forced to spend 20 hours looking at the back of Shepard's head. Well, that and mining. Anyway, I just wish that the AAA industry wasn't so married to action-adventure games. I think it would lead to more diverse and better supported video game narratives. End of tangent. This isn't to say that The Last of Us doesn't have really fun gameplay and a good story. They're both great. But I guess I made this video because I've seen a lot of people saying stuff like, "Why did The Last of Us need to be turned into a TV show? It's basically already TV." And this is why. Bill and Frank are why. Obviously, nothing needs to be made, but as a show, The Last of Us can explore new places that it couldn't as a AAA action game. And to say that it was basically already a TV show just because it had excellent cutscenes is really reductive to the game. I'm very excited to see how the show continues to explore and expand upon the material of the game. If you like this video, consider subscribing. If you like this video, consider subscribing so YouTube knows to plop my slop in your trough. If you didn't like that outro, ChatGPT maybe do it. I wouldn't make that with my own brain, right?